Welcome back to the final credits, where today we're going to be talking about something that you've seen online. There's a lot of controversy over it, and we're here to tell you how the movie is. Today we're talking about The Sound of Freedom. So, last weekend we saw a movie that was, how do I say this? Controversial.
Yeah, that's an easy word.
Is it though? I don't see how it was controversial.
The way how people have always talked about this, because I'm sure we've all heard from certain ends and everything. I know I certainly have, that this was supposed to be an extremely eye-opening movie, and there's supposed to be a lot of controversy surrounding it from governments and stuff like that. It's eye-opening in the sense of if you've been living under a rock, but
it's not anything new. We didn't learn anything new in that movie. It didn't. Okay, just so everyone understands what this movie is somewhat about.
Yeah.
It's child trafficking. That's basically it. Yeah. This isn't something that has been hidden from anybody's eyes. It's not something that was just found out.
It's the story. It's the story of Tim Ballard, I believe his name is, right?
Yes.
I think so.
A former federal agent with Homeland Security.
Right.
Yeah, the story, like 12 or 13 or so years ago, how he went to Colombia. He quit his job at the CIA just to, run this operation to save these children who were being trafficked through Colombia. So it was based on a true story. I think where the controversy lies is just where how this movie presents it. At least the issues that I see with it. I don't know about you guys, but I think you were starting to get at it, Spade. With hey, we were supposed to learn something from this, or they were billing this as something that was eye-opening. And by the end of the movie, I think we were all kind of looking at each other we agree that this is a very heavy subject. This is terrible. This is happening in the world. But did we learn anything new? And how do we feel about how this was presented to us?
Okay, so let's backtrack a little bit, right? Let's just see it. Let's just explain to everyone how we feel about the movie overall. So, acting, Jim, I'm going to call him Jesus Christ because I can't pronounce his last name. I thought he was great in the role. He was, that guy can cry on demand. He can be serious. Phenomenal. So he was great. I feel like he did a wonderful job as his character. Everyone else in the movie, nothing spectacular, but overall the movie was good in the sense where you find the hero of the movie going out to do what he has to do, whether it's to save kids, whether it's to find somebody, whatever the case is. I think storyline wise, up until the third act, it was good. The ending, but
his acting was definitely good overall, but I felt like at times he was very robotic in his role. He calls this his second, his most important role after playing Jesus in Passion of the Christ. After seeing this movie, I feel like I needed Jesus.
Wow.
But if we're just
I agree.
Considering just in the sense of John, you used the word I was going to say, we're throwing out terms like controversial, eye-opening. It was a very heavy subject matter. We saw real-life evil in the world and monsters that we don't see in the traditional sense. That in horror, we've seen a real-life horror movie and monsters in the embodiment of men doing the most evil things, without mentioning other. It's really gut wrenching, but child trafficking is what we'll say to get through it. But I definitely felt a certain type of way, how the subject matter, how it was filmed. It was filmed in an odd way. They showed them catching the predators and the monsters of guys, and then they do a quick flashback of them showing the act. So that was a weird dynamic.
What do you mean? Are you talking about the actual footage that they would show during the credits and the opening credits?
Well, no. How they did one of the arrests at the border.
Right.
Sorry,
yeah.
alert.
No, I mean, this isn't a movie that really is,
it's based
there's no post-credit scene or anything like. Well, actually, technically there is, and I'm going to get.
We're going to get to that.
But,
like they would take down the predator, and then they show them doing their crime before the camera cuts away. With the
that was intentional. No,
yeah.
what you're saying that was actually intentional. They wanted to show like how it affected like guys like Tim Ballard, the people who were trying to fight these crimes, and because one strength I think this movie definitely did have is that it opened your eyes to how it affects people like the police, the CIA, people, Homeland Security, the ones who have to deal with sifting through all this horrible evidence that they have to watch every video, every picture, all these terrible things on screen that these poor kids were subject to. And I think Jesus Christ, what's his name? What's his first name?
Jim Caviezel,
I think his name. Yeah, I think that was like the best display of his emotions. Like just him, that scene like where he's just going through the computer, like all these images and all the videos, like he sees the tear going down his eye and everything. And he has like a very like pained look on his face most of the time. So like you just see like he really sells the the inner turmoil that he's always been going through for years doing this job. And between that and like just the conflict that he was constantly facing with like his boss and just with the organization in general, he wanted to like go about the operations a certain way. He was getting pushed back from every step, and like I mentioned before, he ended up just quitting his job so he can do things his own way. So I think the movie gave a really good window into what people like him have to go through just to save these lives and these children's lives. So that was definitely something good. But that was intentional, that they wanted to show like the effect of the emotion of reacting to it, rather than obviously they're not going to show the acts on screen, but that was obviously intentional. They didn't want to go that far.
Yeah, I feel like exactly the same way. I think it was done well. I think it was not over the top. I like the fact that this movie was almost CGI less, because everything seemed like a practical set. It was shot on location. Look, the budget for this movie was like $14.5 million, and to this day, it's made almost $150 million. So to say that it's not profitable, it's very profitable, very profitable.
So less political, no political at all. Very much religious overtones, praying to something above that was mentioned.
Well, the studio is Angel Studios. They're a very faith-based studio. Right. Did they work on Passion of the Christ?
No, I don't think so. I think this is a relatively new studio.
Okay.
So if you just want to just focus on, if you just want to get back to the acting performances, the scene stealer for me was Bill Camp, who played Vampiro. He was he represented the shady characters that the real life Tim Ballard had to work down. Like he had to get his hands dirty with the shady characters of the underworld to get the bigger fish, the more evil people that are even disgusted by themselves. They're willing to overlook even they're not innocent or angels at all. But Bill Camp as Vampiro, like working side by side with Tim Ballard, was a highlight for me in the film.
Definitely.
To work towards the ultimate goal to take down these monsters and rescue those children. What do you guys think of his performance as Vampiro?
He was definitely the highlight. He was probably my favorite character in the whole movie.
Agreed.
Well, yeah, I mean,
honestly, my whole take for this entire movie was exactly like how I said in my first impressions. This is it's taken, but this is meant to try to win awards.
Yeah, and you know what?
I think it will.
It will. It will win something, because this movie, I feel like it was so serious. It was very serious. It was not anything to joke around about. It's a serious matter. But at the same time, though, the end of it where Johnny 64 made a big deal about it in his short.
Mm-hmm.
It's worth mentioning.
It kind of ruined the movie for me. I mean, okay, let's not take it too far in the sense where I agreed to everything he was saying to a certain point. It's the point where he started to say people are not how did he say it? People are
when
not
you say like the storyteller, like the idea of a storyteller is so important. And then he was making, like the parallels to like Uncle Tom's Cabin and like how that was like this generation's version of that story and all that stuff. And
right, but then
like the more he was going through that,
I was okay with that. It's where he started telling you, "Hey, buy an extra ticket, and we'll give it to somebody who." That was a little like, what kind of marketing is that?
For the ones who haven't seen this movie, towards the end, because we sit back, we like to sit in the credits, we like to like converse amongst ourselves, and they say, "Stay for another minute 30. We have a special message to tell you all." And Jim Caviezel comes out and he starts talking to the audience, who is like still sitting in the theater, tells us about the real life situations of these things that are happening in the real world. And then goes on to say in order to spread awareness, look at this barcode that we have, click on the link, and pay for someone else to go see this movie. Or pay it forward, essentially. And that right there.
If you can't afford it, we'll give you a free ticket.
Yeah. It's
because like paying forward.
Majority of us were very much taken out like from that moment. Like, you had us the entire way until we got to that one thing, and it's like, wait, hang on. So I can understand if you want people to give to a donation and everything. That's like a nonprofit donation, one that will actually help and do something. But in order to like just have people pay for other people for a ticket to see this movie, and that's how you want to spread awareness, that's I feel the complete wrong way to do this.
I totally agree. And this is like my real problem with this movie, and I'm going to choose my words very carefully here, is that it's the movie itself is good. It's good that it exists. I think anything that sheds light on, this evil sect of the world is only a good thing. But my problem with this movie is how the studio and the people involved with this movie are positioning this as like we said before, a film that you just need to watch this in order to learn everything you need to know about child trafficking and how to protect your kids. But the thing is,
already,
even before the credit scene, like there were just like moments sprinkled throughout this movie that I can't like put it into words like how like I viewed it, but it was just like I don't want to say like there was like certain like scenes that felt they were pandering to certain groups of people, but like I felt like if this is supposed to be so serious and heavy of a subject, this really should have been like a documentary, not a biopic that is not too tightly based on real life. I mean, this is based on a true story about Tim Ballard, but not everything in this movie is true. Number one, I can go into it, but it'd probably be too long of a video. Number two is that when you make a movie like this, you're going to have scenes that this is a very heavy subject. It's going to be a lot of seriousness. So we need to have scenes that offset that. We need to have comedy bits or things like there were lines here and there that you're supposed to laugh at. And I'm like, it's just the way that they were handled at certain scenes. I was just like not feeling it. And then, once we got into the credits, like you said, like that's when I was just really, they like you said, they were starting to lose me completely. Like that was, if you really, I'm not going to say that they don't care, but if you really cared about educating people about this, instead of putting a QR code to have a pay it forward program to have people buy more tickets to your movie, have a, name drop like an organization, name drop a charity, give a link, Google, like what to Google, how to protect your kids, or like a book or something. They didn't give they didn't give any sort of material for the audience to actually work with to better educate themselves and better protect themselves and their kids, even at a more local level, because this was obviously a big global example, and there are much more local examples that are much different than that.
I was about to say that
you could
just flash a number, just flash a name of an organization with the number, how to donate with what a website, instead of doing the message.
That's all they needed to do.
I think
they could.
Go ahead, John.
Go ahead, Spade.
I think the controversy started because originally this was supposed to be funded by Disney, and Disney was supposed to distribute it, and then Disney ended up selling it later on because this movie has also been out for 5 years now. It's been finished, and
on the shelf.
It was on the shelf for 5 years.
Actually, it was a correction on that. From what I read, it was through 20th Century Fox Latin America,
which is owned by Disney.
Yeah, which got bought up by Disney, got shelved. But one thing I do admire about the filmmakers is that they bought the rights back to their film, so they hustled to get this out. So it was filmed 5 years ago, and all done, ready to go. But I do respect the fact they were able to get their film back and find a studio willing to put it out, reputation or not. What Angel. So you got to respect the hustle in that regard to get their film out to the world for our eyes to see.
But that's where the controversy starts, I believe, because Disney didn't want to put it out because it probably looked bad on them because, they're a wholesome company, right? So the issue here is, what is Disney going to do? So these people were probably going out to all the other studios. Hey, you want to buy this film from Disney so we can put it out and make some money? And all these big time studios are like, ooh, this is a touchy subject. I don't want to deal with it. So that's where the controversy is, that no one wants to see this movie, at least in my opinion, right? So it's like, if all these studios are not going to pay for me to put it out into the theaters, then I'm going to find somebody who will. And here comes Angel and says, oh, we'll buy it for you and we'll all, make money and sell it and spread the word. I feel like that's how it went behind the scenes. And that's why people are like so gung-ho, are like, oh, they're not letting us put out this movie. No one's stopping you, man. If you got the money, you can put out the movie.
I mean, $150 million later, I don't think you have that problem.
No, you don't have that problem at all.
I mean, yeah, because that's another issue too. Like I feel like part of their marketing is almost like them playing like a martyr role. Like, oh guys, like we've been hindered for so long and we're struggling just to get this movie out in front of people. Yep. You guys made $150 million and more and counting of sales. Like you're good. You're taking this movie global next week. People know about this movie. It's not a secret. The subject matter is not a secret. Tone that part of the marketing down is what I'll say.
But not to make light of the subject matter, but when they got the film and they finally were able to release it, they did look at each other and say, hear that? That was the sound of freedom.
Roll credits.
Try to lighten up the mood.
If you watch the movie, you'll understand what Pancakes is talking about.
Yeah. How the movie got its name. But I think overall thoughts, it's a good movie to have exist in the world. And it's just, but something this serious, you need to treat it very carefully in like the right way. And I don't think the studio got it 100% right. But as a movie, you'll watch it. You'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
In a heavy way, you'll enjoy it. But we were all invested by the end, throughout the movie. We didn't lose focus or anything like that. But
if you get invested in the underlying message of hope, like I said in the short, then you definitely enjoy the movie. How the bad guys get taken down, how they get caught, how they rescue the children. So that made the movie for me.
Graham, any final thoughts? You've been quiet.
Listen, it's a very sensitive subject. I can't imagine the families who have gone through something like this. And it's, like I said, it for what we got for the movie, yes, it was extremely entertaining. Do I think it should win some kind of award? It should, most definitely. It's something to take a look at. But at the same time, the second that the credits start rolling, turn the movie off. It's done.
Yeah. I agree.
Good call.
So with that said, those are our thoughts. Let us know what you guys think. Did you see it? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Do you agree with everything that happened in that movie, whether it's the post-credit scene or the movie in general? And,
please keep it civil.
Yeah, keep it civil.
Please keep the comments civil.
And listen, there was no political thing. Just if you stop, there's nothing. In that case, and anyway, like, subscribe, comment, And that's it. We're out. Roll credits.
Roll
Roll
credits.
credits. We out.